Welcome everyone. I'm here with my mom. Everybody say hi, Mom. Nini.
Hi everybody.
So today, a while ago we were cooking bone broth, and my mom was like, you know, I really want to know how to cook that because you never cooked bone broth before.
Right.
And I was like, oh, let's make a video out of it.
Bone broths, they just are full of nutrients that are specifically liberated from the bones and the connective tissue and the vegetables. So many minerals, from calcium, magnesium, phosphorus to silica.
It's okay to cry, y'all. It's okay to cry.
Catharsis.
A voice calling from within our core.
What are we here for? We realize that our power lies
in how we live our lives.
and how we choose to show up.
So we choose to show up as rooted crowns, and this is our living prayer. Birth from the earth,
on a path to reclaim our name,
nature, ancestral medicine to heal our home. We sow this prayer in our bodies between many hands and upon our land.
in direct response to self-hate, forced scarcity, and climate change.
But it's simple for real. We plant food forests and concrete jungles,
Inspiring youth to lead us out this struggle.
nourishing our bodies as living proof.
Sharing all we do to amplify this truth.
Yeah, we documenting it all.
Bringing it to you so you can feel this call in person, online.
Yeah, we standing tall, rooted crowns. Let's rock with it, y'all.
This is like a really nourishing recipe, and I'm gonna go into the vitamins and nutrients in another little clip. But for now, we're just gonna work through the recipe. It's a really simple recipe. You'll kind of see us making it, but of course, if you're interested in all the details, go to our Patreon page. And then I figured while we work on the recipe, we could kind of talk about our history with foods, with soups, with stocks. We could talk about my mom's mom, my grandmother, and yeah, we could just have a social moment. And one of the reasons we're doing is Lev can tell you.
All right. Peace, y'all. Just here supporting, holding Pele. And this is a really special video for us because, number one thing is it's Ancestral Holy Day today, and I'll share a bit about what that means from the Kemetic calendar standpoint. So the Kemetic calendar is a calendar that's based on this right here. This is a map of the sky called the Mandala of Dendara. It's kind of hard to see, but this map of the sky, as well as calendar, has been preserved by the Kemetic culture, and it's based on the relationship between the Sirius star, the Earth, and the Sun, and reintroduced by a man named Master Naba. This is the calendar for year 418, and just gonna give you a little tour through this. So on this calendar, you get a lot of information just on, what this calendar is based on. Very interesting information. You get all the different special days that are considered sacred in the Kemetic year, as well as, you understand your Kemetic astrology when you're born. You're born into a month that's ruled by a particular energy, or particularly Neter. And so we're in the month of Tahuti right now. Boom, that's your Tahuti. And Aishat, or Isis, or Asata, different names for the mother goddess that rules under this month. Anyway, the weeks are in 10-day weeks and 30-day months. Every 5th day of a 10-day week is an ancestral holy day. The whole instructions on how to do that are here in the back. So this is a beautiful calendar. Not only beautify your space, but it will tap you into Kemetic rhythms, and just give you a calendar that's actually based in nature, based in real natural cycles. All right, you hear the boy. I gotta go. For more information on the Earth Center, see the link below, and or you can just go to theearthcenter.org. On this day, basically, you cook a meal for your ancestors and in honor of them, and generally a good practice is to cook them a meal that they would have liked. Obviously, if you don't know, then you cook what you know. But here we are with these two matriarchs and matriarchs of my son Pele, about to cook an ancestral recipe that we actually, we cooked this recipe. Ife put this on intuitively the day before her waters released and went into the birthing process. So this recipe helped us nourish, through that experience and bringing him into the world, and
the first week of his life, for real. And the important thing about doing it the day before is it actually takes about 24 hours for it to get like really all of the nutrients, the collagen out and stuff. So we're just gonna start with slicing up some basic vegetables.
Ife Mama Nini is chicken soup's recipe that runs in the family.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
Alright, my bad. You can ask it.
No, okay, so I asked, right, yeah. So I feel like, we talked about chicken soup before, right? Like that was
that was a soup that Mama made from scratch, and the recipes were never written down. There were no measurements. There were no, the main ingredients, and she just put them in. It included onions and carrots. So she would cook it, and then it would simmer, and the only issue, it didn't take long, just long enough for the chicken to get tender, and then put the carrots on in it, and the onions. I can't remember all of the things. One of my issues was while she was cooking, I was in the books,
right.
So I didn't get all of the. My older brother did. I mean, he could make biscuits from scratch.
Okay.
Yeah, they were really good. Everything he did was good. Mama tells a story about she and her girlfriends, they all went out for ladies' night and came home, and he fixed biscuits, and they just ate biscuits, and then they realized he didn't put any salt in the biscuits, so they were sprinkling salt in their biscuits as they ate them. So...
That's so sweet. Yeah, we can just throw them in there. Ooh, these onions are spicy.
Yeah.
So do you ever remember Grandma making like a bone broth?
Never. No. I don't remember.
When she was making stuff, was it mostly packaged foods or?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a lot of packaged foods. And now, thank you for the onions.
Sorry, I know you real spicy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's that red onion I was telling you about.
You're right. Recently, we were hanging with somebody, and I was trying to say the white onions were stronger than the red, but now I'm not so sure about that.
Indeed.
Nah, red is
strong ones.
Red is notoriously known for being more spicy.
We used to put light candles.
Yeah,
I don't know if that really worked though. I don't understand how that concept of it works.
Whoa. And the other thing was to run cold water.
Right. Oh, I had this other thing that I did was I would put cool water.
It's okay to cry, y'all. It's okay to cry.
Catharsis.
This is probably a good time to cut in. So, a few minutes ago, I asked about packaged foods. And one of the reasons I asked about that was because as I've been studying how to make bone broths, I've learned that most chicken soups, definitely chicken soups, but just soups in general, their base was usually bone broth. So I find it interesting that either my grandmother didn't make bone broth or my mom just didn't notice because she was almost never in the kitchen with my grandmother anyway. But it's really powerful for me to understand that, because when people used to talk about how nourishing bone broths were or how nourishing chicken soups were, I always was just like, well, whenever I eat chicken soup, I don't feel like it's that nourishing. I mean, yeah, it has chicken and there's nutrients in that, but I never really felt like I was like getting some crazy nutrients out of the chicken soups, that my mom used to make or I made based off of her recipe. And that's because the base wasn't bone broth. And bone broth is really the most in my understanding, vital ingredient to like these soups being really nourishing. And that's because of, I'm just bringing up my notes. That's because bone broths, like they just are full of nutrients that are specifically liberated from the bones and the connective tissue and the vegetables. And it also spares the protein. So it makes it so that just a little bit of meat can go much further and actually be a complete meal. So it's really nourishing for people who just can't afford meat or can't afford a lot of it but need those nutrients. And then bone broth also has so many minerals, from calcium, magnesium, phosphorus to silica, sulfur, iodine, particularly in fish broth, and many other trace minerals. And then it also supports the efficiency of digestion, the strength and flexibility of bones, the strength and remineralization of teeth. It supports immunity and is useful in the treatment of diseases like colds, ulcers, tuberculosis, diabetes, atherosclerosis, arthritis, jaundice, cancer, and more. It also supports the cushioning and resilience of your joints, and it supports the youthful firmness and suppleness of your skin. So there's probably a reason why, like, there's all these traditional proverbs, from the Yiddish proverb that broth helps the worries, or soup helps the worries go down better, to the South American proverb that good broth will resurrect the dead. It's a tradition. Broth, soup, just the old ways, the simmering, that cauldron in the back. And there's a reason for it. And I think it's something to keep in mind when understanding that, like, this used to be the base of all our soups and a lot of our other foods as well. And now most of those soups that you get from cans or even from restaurants are not made with broth anymore, the bone broth, but they're made with MSG. So I just say stick with the traditional ways. Stick with the bone broth. Heal your body. Get that cartilage, that glycine, that collagen, all of that. There's so many nutrients. And look into it if you're questioning it. Look into all the nutrients you can get from bone broth. Because, of course, I can only skim the surface, trying to keep this long video a little bit less long. All right.
Oh, my.
But, yeah, so you said there wasn't really packaged foods.
No, she did a lot from scratch.
That's great. Interesting.
The breads, the rolls that you
bread? She used to make bread from scratch?
Absolutely.
Wow, I don't think I ever made a bread from scratch.
She made rolls from scratch, and part of that process after you mixed it together was to sit it on a shelf and let it rise.
The bread?
The bread, they rolls.
They rolls.
They were rolls. They would actually
the rolls.
puff up.
Wow.
And they were real light.
Yeah, we can put it in.
Okay.
I made two so far, 2 or 3.
3.
Okay. And then I'll do some celery. But y'all see how quick this is? I mean, literally, we're almost done. One of the next things we have to do is fill up a quart jar 4 times with filtered water. So I'm going to do that in the background.
So when you use it, you use it to cook other foods in?
You can use it as a base for sauces. I love cooking it. Like, I love cooking rice and then warming it up with the bone broth, because it makes the rice almost taste like a rice pilaf. Like, it makes it creamy. It's so good.
Okay, this one.
It adds like a richness, to a lot of dishes. Any stews, pretty much.
Vegetables.
When Ife was going through the birth, I would mix the Nigerian stew that we had. Remember that red sauce? It's like a palm oil and pepper and sauce. I would mix it with the bone broth, and then I would cook whatever vegetable, or throw some rice in it too, and it just made the best little quick, rich little stews.
Yeah, and it's really good as just like a drink. Like, just like if you really just need a simple, nourishing, savory drink, it's just a really throw a little bit of salt in that, and it's so good.
Yeah, I like to add just some coconut aminos, and apple cider vinegar, just a splash of both of them in a cup when it's hot.
It's so good. And it's because it's like pre-soup. So like if we were gonna make chicken, so this isn't technically chicken soup yet. It's like the broth, like almost the vegetable or the bone broth that would go in addition to more fresh vegetables. Like these vegetables won't even taste.
Just trying to nurse, babe.
Oh, okay, so I'm about to take my baby. And Let me see.
Maybe no, he might be chilling out.
Okay. So after we get the
Alright, back to you.
Yeah. So it's it's that's number 2. Okay. So like Lev said, he puts vinegar in it, and the recipe calls for a little bit of vinegar too, so a couple tablespoons. And the first time I did this, I was like, really, vinegar? But it really brings out the flavors.
All right, switched up.
So,
okay,
featuring Pele
Orisun. Woo, name, get a name. Okay. So, did you get all 4 in, Mom?
I did.
Okay, and then I think we need to rinse this whole chicken off with cold water and use it.
Oh, by the way, we source our chickens from Ayrshire Farms.
Yeah, which is a local
pasture raised, regenerative.
Local regenerative farm.
In Virginia?
In Virginia, I believe so. We want to visit them, but we haven't been able to organize that visit just yet. But we're working on it. So we also, let me come over here for a second. We also have some bones that we've saved from eating chicken over the past, couple of weeks.
Chicken wing bones.
Chicken wings and chicken legs. Yeah, that goes like. So we just add this for extra collagen. And usually we get chicken feet too, but we forgot this time.
Indigenous practice, use the whole animal.
It's called nose to tail. And first I was like, nose to tail? Why isn't it head to tail? And then I was like, oh, because the animal is uses 2 legs and like they're on their hands and knees. Like Love told me. So it was like, because I'm like, why is it nose to tail instead of head to toes or something? Isn't that the whole being? But it's because when they're on their fours, right? The nose is in front and the tail is the furthest back. So it's taking it all into account.
Right. You went from putting yourself in the animal shoes.
Yeah.
You were trying to.
I was trying to go from that anthropocentric perspective.
Right. You're like, as a human, it's head to toe.
Right. It's head to toe, which is not you want to say I eat head to toe.
Because we're so vertically minded.
Yeah, we really are.
But animals are horizontal. That's their plane.
I remember the first time I did a chicken and had to cut it up. It was so traumatic.
It was traumatic for you? Let's give my mom in this story. It's a great story.
It was traumatic because you look and you say, oh, the legs and arms. And I gotta, it's like.
Circle of life.
The circle of life.
That's why I really want Pele to do it when he's young. Like I really want him to learn the relationship with himself and nature, from a very young age. So it's just natural. It's not even like a trauma, because like a lot of kids, the first thing they know of the relationship with animals are factory farm videos. And they're like, we shouldn't eat animals because of their toy. But one thing I read recently was, you could probably put the whole thing in there. One thing I read recently about those videos was that they are really edited to take out the most horrific parts. And like it's a psychological intention to make you want to stop eating meat. But we're not eating meat from factory farms. We're eating meats that are roaming well and happily on land nearby as much as we can, or at least it's always roaming well naturally, whether it's nearby or not. So that's pretty much it. Let it simmer for 24 hours and simmer for about 24 hours, and then we'll have bone broth.
24 hours.
That's the basic recipe. I'm gonna look to see if I can find any other recipes that are perfect.
Good.
That are variations of this one. But like I said, if you want to support us, even though you pretty much know everything that we do, if you want to support us with this recipe, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/RootedCrowns. My mom's a patron, and tell them you get all these early recipes.
I do, and it's wonderful because one day I'm going to retire and I'm going to be doing nothing but cooking.
Yes, exactly. And she's also getting resiliency project updates. She probably hasn't looked at them yet, but they're like me kind of talking about the various things that we're doing just to become more resilient. Like one of the latest things was about his elimination communication stuff and talking about how we're slowly minimizing the diapers and the waste in the
it's amazing
land.
It's amazing.
Right,
just being able to feel him out and know when he's ready.
Right.
And get him ready as he grows older. He'll probably before he says mommy or daddy, he'll say potty.
Right. And that's true. A lot of people, babies' first words are usually the Q sound. Like they'll make the Q sound. Like I don't want to do it because he'll do it, but I mean he may do it. But you'll make the Q sound. He'll make the Q sound and say he has to go. But before he's even talking, we're going to teach him sign language. So just at least potty, which is this. So if you see him doing that, he's not waiting bye-bye. He's saying, I have to go to the potty.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to get that book and learn that. But
Nice.
yeah, he wanted to do that. I mean, maybe. So Lev knows nurse all too well. So, yeah, so that getting lots of stuff on Patreon, all these other things, perks too. And, yeah, check it out if you want to support us. So thanks for watching. Thank you, Mom, for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yay!
Yay!
How cute.
Alright, 24, 25 hours later. Final touches. Probably gonna let the parsley sit a little bit.
Yeah. Let's taste it. The honey. Oh my gosh, it tasted good. So good.
It's delicious.